So, good evening, everyone. It's been a little while since we shot a video. We've had some exciting things going around here, ice storms, a little house fire, but we're still in the same home. We made it through. We were able to get it put out and save the house, and our volunteer fire department got here quickly and gave us a hand with it. So, we're still here and still in the cleanup process, but wanted to get back out there and wanted to bring an old classic out tonight. I know all of us as we get older, we seem to kind of forget about how we got started in bourbons or whiskeys. And of course, Evan Williams and Jim Beam and Jack Daniels probably being the three biggest names of what you in your youth sat around the campfire and drank and passed around. And but wanted to get Evan Williams back out and actually do a real review on it, because it's usually one of those that just, it's like I said, it's the campfire whiskey, the cheap one when you're in your youth you can run and go get and hang out with your buddies. And this is actually, usually we price everything by the fifth on here, but stopped and got a half gallon for $22. So just about as cheap, if not cheaper, than anything we've reviewed at a fifth price. And we'll go ahead and get it open and get it breathing a little bit while we run through a little bit of the history and some of the notes and flavors we're supposed to be getting out of this. There we go. So this Evan Williams is a 86 proof. Started in 1957, but it does represent the first distillery in Kentucky on the Ohio River. Supposedly started in 1783 by Evan Williams. And I say supposedly only because I've read a few reviews and that history kind of holds up, but I've never actually dug into, was Evan Williams actually the first distillery to ever sell a bottle in Kentucky? I haven't done that research, so I'm going to use supposedly for now, not knocking them on their story. I'm sure it's true. 78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley. The nose is supposed to be brown sugar, baking spices, caramel, smoky oak, very light smoky oak, and with kind of a medium alcohol. The taste, caramel, honey, baking spices, black tea, light cherry, and a very light smoke to the taste. The finish is supposed to stay within all of those flavors that you pull out of that on your palate, and then slowly go to a black pepper or kind of a cinnamon. So we'll go ahead and get started with a little swirl and sniff, and kind of see what we get just fresh out of the bottle. And as you can see, we've got Miss Betty back with us this evening. I think the last video, if I remember right, she was actually suffering from a little sickness and didn't make it in the video. It's not a strong alcohol. But I think a lot of times though, like I said, we get older and we kind of get into those $50 or $60 bottles of bourbon and we start trying things. We get a little snobbish with it. We forget about these things we started with. And you hear somebody go, "Oh yeah, man, we were drinking some Evan Williams last night," and your first thought kind of goes to, "What are you doing drinking that rock gut, man? You know what, Four Roses or George Dickel or the 15 year or something like that." But thinking back on it, man, I can remember really enjoying these bourbons that we drank all the time. Now I have went back and tried just Jim Beam, and I prefer the Jim Beam 7-year. And I do want to do an Evan Williams. I think they've got a bottled in bond, and I do want to try it. Okay, that's getting a little better. I'm definitely getting the smoky oak, no doubt. And I think some of the burn is kind of a baking spice, like a cinnamon, and not just alcohol. There's a little cinnamon that kind of hits as it goes down. You kind of hits the back of your palate back there as you're smelling it. It's kind of kind of cinnamon. So here we go. Let's have a taste. Did we get a face?
Yeah.
But y'all can thank Miss Betty for bringing her cleavage to the picture tonight.
Very cinnamon.
Yep, very cinnamon. And I maybe even getting, I'm not getting the on the taste, it's, it's supposed to have some light cherry. I'm getting the smoke. I'm getting cinnamon as the baking spice, probably the one that stands out the most.
Did you say it like a brown sugar?
Yeah,
It's kind of.
well, they had on here caramel and the brown sugar to the nose, but caramel kind of honey on the.
I mean, it is.
I'm
kinda
getting a sweet.
Yeah.
I would go more with brown sugar, what I got from the nose, than I would caramel or honey. I don't, maybe it's just my palate, and I might try another sip after the shot or see what the shot does. But I'm not really getting the black tea either. Unless it's actually kind of more on the finish, maybe a little bit, like you've had a sip of tea and just what's lingering in your mouth afterwards, maybe a little bit. But it would be black tea without sugar. It would just be kind of a very flat tea flavor if it's there. So get a shot and see what, if we fade the black pepper or cinnamon with all the other flavors.
Yeah, black pepper.
Yeah, I got black pepper. But when it very first hit my tongue, because taking that shot instead of hitting the front of your tongue, it's kind of like on the sides of it and towards the back of your mouth. And I kind of got a little black tea and a little sweet. And then it kind of fades off to a black pepper with a little bit of a cinnamon finish. I'm going to rate this, and y'all are probably going to laugh at me, especially those of you who, like I said, have even become a little like I have become. I've got my favorites that cost a little more off the shelf. But on here, we try to do price to taste as your scale. And I do a 1 to 5 scale, and I'm going to give this one a 5. As far as getting, I'm not going to say complex. It's not complex. It doesn't break down slowly over time. You get punch, punch, punch. It's not, you get a little this flavor, then that flavor, then that flavor, and then it's gone. So it's not complex, but I do get a lot of flavor for $22 for a half gallon. And it's smooth, and it's something, I don't know if I'd want to sit and just do shot after shot of that, but sipping, I could sit and sip that all night, no problem. Don't have to mix it with anything. It's plenty smooth enough for me. I think Betty would say it's a mixer, just by the reaction. But it's smooth. But I can taste in this with it already having some sweet and a little bit of other stuff. I could even see doing some fruit juices with this, like a little Sprite and maybe a little shot of pineapple juice, or some kind of peach flavor. Anything like that to go with it would be pretty good. Just give it a little. I wouldn't try to do it like a sweet drink, like a frou-frou drink. I don't think it needs to go that far.
No.
But like a 50% bourbon, and then 25% or maybe even 30% of your 7-Up, Sprite, ginger ale, something, and then just a little splash of fruit juice on top of it. I think that'd actually make a pretty good drink. Maybe even try something like that in the future. Maybe do a video doing something like that, just see what it tastes like.
But like in an old fashioned, what's in that?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of all my flavors in an old fashioned.
I know it's simple sugar.
Yeah, you got simple sugar. You got bitters, and then you usually have a squeeze of something, not necessarily lemon. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've mixed it. I've drank a few over the last couple of years. Just ordered one. I usually don't care for the bitters in it, but if I find a place that does it to where it doesn't have a lot of the bitters, I enjoy an old fashioned. Usually has a cherry thrown in it. But yeah, I mean, and that wouldn't be bad. Do just a couple. I would get carried away with no juice, just a couple of maraschino cherries. Then fill it up with some 7-Up and Evan Williams, and that would probably be pretty good with just a little light cherry flavor in it to kind of add it back to where you can taste, and it might even draw it out a little bit to where you can actually taste what they're saying is one of the flavors that sometimes you can taste in Evan Williams. But there you have it, guys. Kind of a quick, short video on Evan Williams and its history, and like I said, price point to taste, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. You can't beat a $22 bourbon that you can sit and sip or shoot like that. That's smooth and doesn't just burn, and it's I would definitely suggest if you're on a budget or you're just looking to revisit your youth and you're up there my age or older, 50s, 60s, 70s, and you've been sipping on one of the higher ends, just go out and get a bottle of Evan Williams and revisit your youth. This was a lot of fun tonight. So we'll talk to you guys later. Appreciate you joining in.